Before we go on now, we know that the DMO Act obviously empowers the Minister of Finance to be the one to approve, grants and loans both federally and at the state level. Now, how much of this is just a kickback, a kind of a rebellion, if you will, for lack of a better term, against constituted authority for potentially stopping the flow of funds for a project that might be interesting, that might be of interest to a few stakeholders within the country?
Now, when you say constitutional authority stopping it, are you referring to the National Assembly?
No. I'm referring specifically to the Minister of Finance now, not necessarily, because we're looking at $80 million.
Yes, exactly.
That is still in the coffers of this project that has not been spent and that will be returned to the World Bank tomorrow if action is not taken. And I'm asking you how much of this has to do with the fact that maybe the Minister of Finance, for example, is not playing along and is perhaps being smeared in the process. Is that not a possibility?
Well, it's not exactly a possibility. Now, why I say that is there are laid down processes for how these funds should be accessed. Now, one of the things that obviously put her on the spot, or let me not personalize it, put the minister on the spot, is the fact that a report was received from the DSS about the project, and they advised that, okay, they need to properly look into these allegations, weighty allegations, before certain things are done. But obviously, there are still some administrative actions, some things that have to go on, which is how come the $8.5 million was spent on consultancy, like I said. Now, the minister now is responsible for overseeing and also giving her own consent to certain aspects of the disbursement for the beneficiaries, especially. Now, that is where we now have issues because there have been no beneficiaries added after the 81 for the AVDD, which actually was something that was contrived out of the GEM project, like you rightly pointed out. So there's still the main growth and employment project that has not been administered till now. So now that is where we are at the moment.
Okay, now, Mr. Gbillah, when you look at the whole scope of the project, obviously we've touched on the fact that it began in 2013 under a previous administration.
Yes.
Give us a breakdown, a sense of how much was expended between 2013 and 2015 and how much has been expended since the inception of this administration. Okay,
now, from the report they gave us, between 2013 and 2015, there apparently was an effort to reach out to about 400 out of 4,000 beneficiaries. And in that process, they expended somewhere between $20 to $30 million because each beneficiary is supposed to receive about $50,000 for their SMEs. Now, from then till now is where we have had to see another $30+ million being expended over what we consider to be frivolous expenditure in terms of consultancies. That's basically what has been happening since then. But within that period, part of that amount also went to the AVDD. So that's part of what was in. So some people, like he said, a few of them have received both tranches. Some have received the first. So that also forms part of what was spent in that amount.
Mr. Osakwe, can you just give us a sense of what it is that you hope would happen now that these allegations have come out into the public fore?
Like you said, there are still allegations until the Ministry of Trade and Investment come to actually give their own view of this situation. We have been having meetings with them also. And because when it now got to this point, we decided to actually go out and find out what's happening. So when we did go out, we met with them, and we found out that if some of the things he's saying are mostly what delayed or caused delays to the disbursement of the second tranche. So we could understand that. But the problem we're having now is that the contract is expiring tomorrow. So we are hoping that there could be some kind of extension for it, because some of us, or most of us, really do need this money to be able to expand to what we need. And some people who were disqualified were, to me, disqualified wrongly, because every project that I've seen of all the 81 AVDD program are supposed to be businesses that could turn into multi-million-dollar businesses in Nigeria. So I don't see why some of them should be not be able to get to that point. I'm into automobile, and what we're trying to do is put electric cars on Nigerian roads. And we're getting to the point where we can actually do this, and we need to be able to do this, so that we will be able to say that Nigeria is one of these countries that are actually doing this. There are other businesses that are also growing. So it's really important that this project continues.
Well, there's no doubt that this project and the circumstances around it have real-life impact on so many people.
Yes.
At this juncture, we're just going to take a very short break. Our viewers, please do stay with us. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily, coming to you live from our Abuja studio. Just before we close, Honorable Member, let me ask you, you've touched on, the role of the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, the role of the Minister of Finance and some other stakeholders, the World Bank, on this issue, really kind of, raising some serious allegations against them. Now, we also know that the National Assembly has had this investigation, these details before them, for almost a year now. Tomorrow is the deadline at which, of course, the money will be returned to the coffers of the World Bank, and we're only now kind of hearing about this. At what point is the National Assembly not culpable for acting on this sooner so that we could avoid the scenario that we're facing now?
Now, I will be the first to admit that, unfortunately, on the part of the House of Representatives, the joint committee involved has been rather docile about what they're supposed to do. I don't know what their challenges are, or maybe the composition of the committee has been too unwieldy, because it's about 4 or 5 committees that are involved. But part of what I, as somebody who's very passionate about this issue, will do is to request when we reconvene, because there are processes in the rules of the House that say if a matter is not addressed for over 6 months, it will be returned back to the House for deliberation by another committee, most probably an ad hoc committee. Because these young people are waiting. A lot of others are waiting. They have this lovely novel ideas that will be of benefit to this country, and they have been unable to work. So that's part of what needs to be done. And the ministry needs to come back to the National Assembly to request for an extension.
Mr. Osakwe, let me get your final thoughts.
Okay, I'll say that I'm happy that we have people in the House that are really interested in making sure that the funds that are meant for projects are actually used for the necessary projects they are meant for. Having said this, it's also important that when projects are set up and timelines are put in place, these timelines should be followed. Because if you're dealing with businesses, they also have timelines for what they need to do. So if we're able to get to that point where every aspect of the process is settled before even starting it, and then when it's time for implementation, the implementation is done as at when due, then we'll be at a point when we can say that Nigeria is a country that is actually growing. Because some of the businesses are failing because it's looking like we were brought to a height and then left to fall. So we need this to be corrected. If you say 3 months, let it be 3 months. If you say 6 months, then we prepare for 6 months. Because that's where we have the problem. It's been a year. It's more than a year already. So we need that to be settled. If this project should continue, that is what I want to happen. Because there are lots of people, there are many more people that need to be on this.
We certainly look forward to bringing to our viewers the reaction of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and we certainly are hopeful that that will come very soon, as well as the World Bank, since they are key stakeholders. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the program this morning to share your insights. So that's where we close the show. Another edition of Sunrise Daily in the books. I wish everybody a wonderful day ahead. With me has been Honorable Mark Gbillah, Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream, and Mr. Nonso Osakwe, the Chief Executive Officer of Quad Cycle Automobile. Have a great one today. I am Ajuri Ngalale.